The day everything was taken. There are moments in life that divide everything into a before and after. For me, that moment came the day I lost everything I thought I was owed, not through fate or misfortune, but through betrayal. I was 25 when my father passed away. He was the kind of man who believed in hard work and family above all else. He built his business from nothing, a small construction company that grew into a modest empire over 3 decades. From worn hands and sleepless nights, he built something that provided for our family, something I always believed I would someday help carry forward. But in the days that followed his death, grief gave way to confusion, and then to shock. Because what was supposed to be divided fairly between my brother and me wasn't. My older brother Ethan had always been the golden child. Confident, charismatic, and endlessly charming, he was the kind of person people naturally trusted, even when they shouldn't. Growing up, I was the quiet one. The one who worked behind the scenes, studied hard, stayed out of trouble, and tried to earn approval through effort rather than words. Our father loved us both, but he saw something in Ethan that I never quite understood. Maybe it was his confidence. Maybe it was his ease with people. Or maybe it was the illusion that he was ready to lead. When the will was read, I sat there with a lump in my throat. I expected to hear my name tied to the business, to the legacy I had helped nurture for years. I had spent weekends in the dusty warehouses learning the books, the projects, the systems. I had believed my father was preparing me to take over, because I had the patience and the discipline Ethan lacked. But instead, I listened in silence as the lawyer announced that my father had left everything to my brother. The company, the properties, even the savings account that was supposed to help me start my own venture someday. Everything. I remember sitting there, frozen, as if the world had tilted. I couldn't understand it. My father wasn't a cruel man. There had to be a mistake. But when the lawyer handed over the documents, I saw the signature, unmistakable, deliberate, final. And then it hit me. Ethan had gotten to him before the end. He had always known how to manipulate people, how to twist stories until he became the hero. And in those final months when our father was sick and I was too busy working 2 jobs to visit as often as I wanted, Ethan had been there every day, whispering, convincing, positioning himself as the faithful son. By the time I realized what he'd done, it was too late. Within weeks, he took control of everything. The company was renamed, the staff reshuffled, the family house sold. He even moved into my father's old office, the same office where I used to bring him coffee during late-night strategy sessions, dreaming of one day sitting there myself. And then, without hesitation, Ethan cut me off. No offer of partnership, no role in the business, just silence, as if I'd never been part of it at all. The pain was deeper than anger. It was the pain of watching your own bloodline erase you, not with violence, but with indifference. For a while, I drifted. I took odd jobs, rented a small apartment, and tried to make sense of what had happened. My friends told me to fight for it, to sue to expose him. But the truth was, I didn't want to spend years fighting in court over something that had already been poisoned by greed. I didn't want his version of success anymore. Still, every morning I woke up with that same question echoing in my mind. Why him? Why not me? For a long time, that question filled me with bitterness, but slowly it began to change shape. One day, it wasn't a question of why not me. It became a question of what now. Maybe I couldn't change what had been taken from me, but I could decide what to build next. And so I made a vow. If he had stolen my inheritance, then I would build my own. Not out of money or family privilege, but from the ground up. Brick by brick, hour by hour, fueled by the same fire my father once had. I started small. I took on freelance jobs, helped local contractors fix accounting issues, managed small renovation projects for cheap. I worked long hours, sometimes eating dinner out of takeout boxes in unfinished basements. I read business books, watched tutorials, and learned every part of the trade I could. Not just how to manage people, but how to build systems, how to negotiate, how to lead with clarity instead of charm. At first, it felt like trying to light a fire in the rain, but then small sparks began to catch. A local client referred me to another. My side projects began to turn a modest profit. I registered a business name, one that carried a silent message, not to him but to myself. Legacy built. Each month I poured everything back into it, every dollar, every ounce of energy. I didn't care about luxury or appearance. I just wanted progress. But as my small company started to grow, I could feel something inside me changing. The bitterness that once fueled me was slowly being replaced by purpose. I was no longer trying to beat Ethan. I was trying to become someone my father would have been proud of. Someone who built not out of revenge, but out of vision. Still, the world has a way of testing you when you start to rise, because success, even small success, doesn't go unnoticed. And soon, word began to spread. One afternoon, while I was finishing a site inspection, I saw a familiar logo on the side of a nearby truck. My father's old company, the one Ethan now controlled. They were bidding for the same project I was. And in that moment, standing under the harsh afternoon sun, watching that name on the truck, the name that should have been partly mine, I realized something. The real battle wasn't over. He had stolen my inheritance. But now I was building something stronger than wealth. I was building proof. Proof that I could rise without him.